Hey everybody, it's Allie Edwards, and welcome back to our Facts and Feelings Story Play Week. Today I am going to be creating a couple of projects using the prompt-based papers in the Facts and Feelings Story Play mini kit. My hope and my goal, and part of the way that I'm approaching this time, is that I want you to literally see how simple it can be when we're focusing just on the facts and the feelings. So these aren't going to be super creative, they're not going to have layers of things. This is going to be a words and photos focused video where I'm simply going to be pairing full page photos with the prompt pages from the kit and then adding on my journaling and maybe a couple of the embellishments on top of the photo. So sometimes as memory keepers, it can be really, really awesome for us to focus more on the words and the photos and just focus on that and not think about the other creative parts. As you guys know, I love the creative parts too, so I love having a mixture of those things. But in this video in particular, and I think especially when you're working on your journaling or working on getting more of your words out of your head and your heart and onto the page, taking out some of the creative parts can be really freeing and can help you focus just on the journaling piece. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So first up, I have a photo of Simon. This is my son Simon. He's 21. He's living out of the house. I got some stuff to say about it. So I'm going to do a facts and feelings page with paired with this photo. So one thing to think about too, if you are new to me, new to my channel, new to my brand, I am a big believer in encouraging the community and encouraging viewers to become a translator of ideas. So if you see a full page photo here, that could easily be a page protector with a divided page protector that has different photos inside of it. I'm just choosing, in this case, for my particular story to use a full page photo. It's one of my favorite ways to tell stories going bigger with the photos themselves. So I'm going to dive into this one first. The second one that I'll be doing is one, this is actually Anna's laptop case from 8th grade and her pencil pouch from 8th grade. And she had put it in the office for me to decide what to do with, and I didn't want to keep these, but I did want to take a picture of them so I could tell a little story of them, partly because I thought it was so fun that she had had her friends write on there and you can see all the little doodles and things like that. And I thought that was fun. And so I'm going to use that and tell a story about her finishing up 8th grade and then moving on to high school. So those are the two stories that I am going to get told today. I'm also planning, this is the sheet of vellum that comes with the kit this time. And I'm actually going to cut some of these circles out rather than using it as a full page. You could easily use it as a full page insert in between your photo and your journaling page, your prompt-based journaling page here. That would be a cool way to use it. But I think that I'm going to make these into embellishments so I can have it go a little bit farther, have the paper go a little bit farther. That is my initial plan. All right, so diving into this first one here, what I am planning to do on these is I am actually just going to handwrite directly onto the prompt-based paper here. So I'm going to start with the fact, and then I'm going to write down a feeling. I'm going to start with the fact, and I'm going to write down the feeling. So I am literally putting into practice what we talked about in the earlier videos in this series, right? Simply laying out, this is how I'm going to approach the journaling. It's not going to be in paragraph form. It's just simply responding, what is a fact about the story and what is a feeling about the story? Or what is a fact about this photo? What is a feeling about this photo? And I'm just going to add my journaling right on there. I'm going to punch some holes. I'm probably going to add one of these circles over here, and I'm probably also going to cut out one of these guys, something like that. Maybe I'll do 3 of them. I haven't decided on that part yet, but I think what I actually am going to do is simply start by adding in my journaling. All right, let's talk about how I'm going to approach, or how do I do this when I'm standing here at my table. So I think I'll walk you through the first couple, and then I'll probably play some music while I think, because for me, it's sometimes hard to talk and write at the same time, as you can imagine. So my approach when I'm doing this, or the way that I approach this is I'm looking at the photo. I have my photo as my jumping off point. So when I went to look through my recent photos to figure out what story I wanted to tell, this was one that jumped out at me. So this is Simon came with Katie and I to a antique fair, a local antique fair, and it was really fun. We invite him to lots of things. Sometimes he comes, sometimes he doesn't come, which is completely 100% fine. But it's always fun when he decides to come. He just brings his sparkle to whatever is happening. So on this is a very early morning. We had spent the night at Katie's house because this is happening right near where she lives. And he ended up buying this coat while we were there. And he's got his Bill Murray shirt on. And it's just a fun picture of Simon in this season of his life right now. So what we have again is when you think about the layers of stories within a photo, we have the facts, right? The basic facts. So I'm going to start with putting down, the location, right? Going back to the who and the what and the where and the when. I'm going to put Coburg Antique Fair, Simon joined us. I'm going to tell something about that, something about the basics of this photo. But what this photo is also going to allow and invite me to do is tell a little bit more of the story of Simon right now. What else is happening in his life right now? What are the feelings I have about him being out on his own? What's coming up next for him? Those are some of the things that come up for me when I am looking at this particular picture. And so that's how I'm technically going to dive in. So I'm going to start with the basic facts, right? Coburg Antique Fair. I'm going to get the date on there I'm going to do a rolling date stamp for that. So Coburg Antique Fair, something about probably outside Katie's house. We spent the night, some sort of basics like that. I'm probably going to do about maybe 3 lines within each of these little sections here. So we've got the space that's available to me right here. So I'm probably going to do about maybe 2 or 3 lines. It's going to depend on how big my words are. This is also available digitally, so you can add your journaling on here in Photoshop if you want to have typed up journaling added on. I'm going to be writing by hand just because I feel like that's an easy way to approach that. So that will be the first fact, and my first feeling will probably be excitement, that I'll express excitement and happiness and joy about the fact that he wanted to come and hang out with us. So that's going to be the first one. The next fact is probably going to be something about how the jacket that he bought. And I'm going to write a little bit about how I feel about that. And the jacket for him was related to, he was thinking about, he's wanting to make some movies, and that this could, he thought it was cool, and it could be something that he could wear in one of the movies. I thought that was cool. And then I'll go on and add a few more after that. So again, using my photo to excavate facts and feelings. And then my next one over here will probably be, something about he's going back to school. He's starting in community college actually this week that I'm filming this. So that's another layer, right? That's not the first layer of the story. There's nothing on here that says Simon is going back to school, but that is a layer of this season of life. It's a story layer in terms of the season of life. So I am going to dive in and start writing. All right, so you probably noticed there that I did bring that feelings printable over to my table. And I mentioned the other day when I first brought up that feelings list that that's not something that I in the past have referred to on a regular basis. But what I'm working on personally is expanding some of the language that I'm using around the feelings. So rather than saying loving, I love this, I use the word love a lot. Just trying to see if there's some other words, and there isn't always, but I love the idea of that. So that's why I've got that out. Next up, I'm looking at adding on a couple of the chipboard pieces. I am using a 2-inch circle punch to punch out the vellum. And then I'm going to organize all three of those circles in what I like to call a circle trail of embellishments there. After I got those initially adhered, I just did a little bit of adhesive on the chipboard circles. I brought it over to my sewing machine where I've got some bright green thread in the sewing machine, and I'm stitching each one of those embellishments just a little bit. I'm adding a little bit of stitching on there. I'm also going to do that at the top of the second page there, just a nice line of stitching which gets connected, connects it to the other page. And then that's it. That is a wrap on this particular project. Let's move on to the next. Okay, next up I am telling the story of these bags that were Anna's bags. This is her laptop bag in 8th grade and her pencil bag. And again, these are ones that she brought home, doesn't need anymore. We don't need it in the house anymore. So I took pictures of it and I combined them together into one page. So it's just 2 individual pictures. This one's actually a little bit bigger in real life, but that was something that I didn't really care that much about. So I am going to do a little embellishing on this one. You saw how I added stitching to that first one. This one, I'm going to add on some number stamps. I want to number these. This little section right here, so obviously already designed page, right? Ready for you to write in your facts and feelings. But I also left a little space there in the design if you wanted to add, you could add an embellishment there, you could add a small number stamp, but I'm actually going to go big with it. And so I'm going to go big with it using a lighter or a lighter blue color. It's a little similar to, it's kind of a mint, similar to the colors that are over here in the photo. I'm going to do this first before I actually do my journaling. And I'm also going to probably use this guy right here, which I had punched out of the transparency, and I'm just using a 2-inch circle punch to punch that guy out. Now, a couple things I want to say. In the Facts and Feelings kit, right, we gave you a bunch of chipboard pieces. You don't have to use these all on one project, right? These could each be, you got 5 different ones. I have 5 left over here. I can use these. Each one could be on a different project. Maybe I'll use them in the video that I'm going to do tomorrow where I'm using the journal cards. I'm going to leave those ones available. But I think what's cool about this kit is that Facts and Feelings storytelling can go with any kind of story, right? It could be a birthday story. It could be a Christmas story. It could be an everyday life story. There's lots of options for that. And so these are great embellishments to add on to a wide variety of stories. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp 1, 2, 3, 4 on here. I just like the look of the numbers, actually the big graphic numbers kind of going over the top. And I also knew that as I was going to be stamping this one, it's going to be lighter, right? Because I'm using this lighter colored ink, so it's going to have a nice kind of backgroundy feel on there. All right, so I went ahead continuing adding on the ink. I love the graphic nature of numbers like this, and you can go really dark with them, you can go light with them, you could emboss them. There's a wide variety of things that you can do with a nice thick number stamp like this one. Had to restamp that number 4 twice, no big deal. Next, I'm going to move on to dealing with the embellishments. This is the one that I punched out originally with that first layout. I decided to just add it on to the edge there. And then rather than using more of the Facts and Feelings chipboard circles, I went into my stash to see what I had in there. I had a beautiful imperfect Right Now that I really liked. I felt like that would be a good one. And then I also have half circles in my chipboard stash there, and so I looked for a few that could maybe sit on the bottom of the page. I like that, the repetition of the interacting with the edges. So I found one that said loving. I'm adding that on. I'm also going to staple that one, and I'm going to staple this one. I'm also cutting off the bottom because I like how that is a repetition of the shapes, the other shapes that are interacting with the edges, and this one makes it go right into my Facts and Feelings title there. Kind of gives it a little house right there. Next up, I went ahead and started just writing in my journaling. I started with fact first, right? This is, I had Anna bring these into the office. She needed to go through all of her stuff. I definitely wanted to take a picture of them, talking a little bit about that, about how much, what I liked about them is that they have handwriting on them, right? Handwriting from her, handwriting from her friends, different kids signing the bag and the little doodles on there. So I'm just writing a little bit about that. I did use the feelings printable there to identify the word delighted, because I was trying to think about what's the feeling that I actually feel. Like, again, I could have said, oh, I love these, blah, 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 and I do love them, but trying to pick a be more specific with my feelings. Again, that's what I'm working on with this. I also wanted to mention real quick that, if you adopt the idea of using facts and feelings as a method of journaling, you don't always have to have it be as explicit as I'm doing on these projects, right? Where I literally have fact, feeling. But that is a great way to practice. It's a great way to bring in more feelings and more facts if that's what you need. It's a great way just simply to balance it out. And the more you practice that, the less you will need to actually have the pages that say fact and feeling directly on them. All right, that's a wrap on today's project. I'll be back tomorrow with another project video.